You all, now that we have like this intimate audience, but just wanted to welcome you to our full proposal writing workshop. Thank you so much for showing up in person, and also a big shout out to our online audience. We know that you guys are out there. If you have any questions, send it through the chat message. Philip will relay that to me, and we will make sure that your questions get answered. And just wanted to get like a really quick sense. How are you guys feeling? We're less than a month away. Cool. I'm seeing some thumbs up. Maybe a quick raise of hands. Has anyone started their full proposal? Oh, wow. I'm seeing 3. Okay, I was not expecting that. It's okay if you haven't. You're in the right place to know what you need, but it's also great if you have. So both of you guys are in great situations. But really quickly, the website does have everything you need to know. So after we go through this presentation, if you have any questions, we will redirect you to the website. But if there's something that you can't find that was mentioned, please reach out to myself, Philip, or Francis, who's not here. But we're all committed to answering your questions or pointing you guys into the right direction. But we have gone through, painstakingly made sure that all the resources, everything you need to know is on the website. This quick overview is going to go over the written component, then I'm going to check for clarification, answer any questions, and then we'll go over the application video, which is the new component this year, and Philip is going to take that away or give you more information about that. So let's get started. Do we have any questions off the bat with anything I just said? Clear as mud? Oh, right off the bat, what is the deadline? March 6th. Yes, come on in. I hate to put you on the spot, but do you know what the deadline is for the full proposal?
March 6th.
Wow, way to go. Okay, great. Thank you so much, Peyton. It's great to see you. So we're just going to do a quick overview. But first of all, I did mention resources. On the back table, you will see 3 examples of full proposals. Now, these 3 examples come from previous years. We've iterated on the requirements and criteria. So don't look at them as the definitive template of what you want to fill out. But we thought that there's 3 really diverse examples of different projects with different end goals. And there's some strengths in all the proposals, and there's some weaknesses, which I can highlight really quickly. Baha'i Kubo is one of the proposal examples, and it's a transformative food system and public health program for Filipino Americans. The other one, Social Force, is a web platform that addresses the market gap between local organizations that need resources and small and medium businesses and corporations that want to connect with local organizations. And then Light from Below, which is an actual prototype of a energy efficient LED made from recycled bottles. So they all have different stages of development. Don't think that this is what we exactly need to see in terms of how advanced it is, but we do think that they've done a pretty good job of showing what we're looking for. And we also have the writing tips on there. There's some hard copies in the back. And we have some upcoming events. The next event that we have is the Industry Advising Clinic. So you guys have mentors. You can reach out to us for advising. We wanted to also, in addition, provide another opportunity for you to take advantage of some 30-minute one-on-ones with an industry advisor in your field. We will have the list of who will be there shortly. In about less than a week, we'll send you an email with a form if you want to sign up. Quick show of hands, did anyone go to the last industry advising clinic? That's okay. The great thing is it's there if you need it, and it's not if you don't, but we try and make sure that there's a lot of different resources for you guys to take advantage of. The full proposal editing blitz. Now, some of your faces look familiar. I think I saw you during the editing blitz days, but I'll quickly let you know these are extended advising appointments with Philip, Francis, or myself. We can review and edit your full proposal and really make sure that you're writing this for a generalist audience. So we will push back if we think things sound a little bit more technical, it is your last opportunity to get an extra set of eyes on your full proposal. So I recommend signing up early because those spots will definitely fill up.
The main thing for those.
Oh, I think,
We got it.
okay.
Yep. Okay. Yep. I'm not worried.
I can,
Keep going.
okay. I can also fix that as well.
There we go. Got it.
Yeah.
The main thing is that we've all seen a lot of these proposals. I've been doing this for 10 years now, seen a ton of proposals. So we can help you identify where the gaps are, where you're spending too much time in your proposal, where you should be giving more weight, where you should be giving less weight. So it's a good opportunity for you to come in the last 24 hours and get some good feedback on guidance just for those where you should spend your time.
Mm-hmm. Yes, quick question. Philip, do you mind sending them
We
my
gotta,
way?
we gotta keep it on mic.
Yeah, I'm going to be diligent about that, representing the online audience.
Can we sign up now, or when do those signups open?
Yes, so for the editing blitz, you can sign up now. Not all advisors' schedules are up. Mine are. Philip's are coming shortly, and same with Francis. So in the next couple days, absolutely. And if you don't see a time slot on there that works with your schedule, let us know now so that we can be flexible with you, because we're always trying to find a way that we can make sure you get some one-on-one time with us. And then ongoing advising. Please visit us often. We love seeing you. We love helping. We love giving that extra perspective that might be needed, especially if you guys are really in the weeds of your project. And then last but not least, I don't know if you guys are signed up for the newsletter. I really hope that you are, but we have a couple extra writing opportunities. Some individuals from the Blum Center that have years and years of experience writing op-eds and journalism and just fine-tuning your approach. They're going to be teaching a writing workshop that I mentioned in the newsletter. And so just as a good rule, check it out. It's also got funding opportunities and other things, but I just wanted to quickly highlight that. So before we get into the full proposal, I briefly touched on this at the kickoff event. What are the judges looking for? In your pre-proposal, you really focused on innovation. What is different? What are you doing different that can't compare to anybody else? However, in this round, the majority of the weight of the judging criteria will be viability. So a lot of people have asked, what does viability mean? It's how likely is this project able to succeed? So we're going to go through all of the different sections, and I'm just going to be kind of echoing the viability thing, but if there's something that is unclear about what that means, please let me know. Also, I just wanted to let any hardware for good... Yeah. Hello. Yes, I just wanted... Ooh, very good. I just wanted the hardware for good teams to know that 30% will be weighted on viability and 10% will be weighted on the sustainable design criteria. Some of you guys, all of you guys were actually, all of the hardware for good teams were here for our Inventing Green workshop, and some other teams as well. It's so good to see you again. But if you have questions about that makeup in terms of the judging criteria for your category, grab us after the workshop and we can understand or help you understand that.
And one of the questions we get year after year is, are the judges who read my pre-proposal the same judges who will read my full proposal? And write like you're writing to a new audience. There may be some overlap between judges in the pre-proposal and the full proposal, but for the majority, for the most part, the judges will be reading your proposal for the very first time and will have no context. So write to the new reviewer.
Absolutely. Does that sound good? Does that feel good? I'm seeing some nodding. So I'm going to go forward unless anyone wants to bring anything up. Okay. So here's just a couple pinpointing things on the overview. You guys know the deadline. I was so happy to hear it's March 6, 2019, 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Now, the new thing for this year in particular that I wanted to highlight is there is an 8-page maximum for the full proposal. This doesn't include appendices or references, so you might hear that other word, appendices. You are allowed to put in your full proposal, but just note that the judge is going to read a lot. They're going to have a few different full proposals, so they're not required to read beyond those 8 pages. However, if you have some great references and great information, then they very well might, but don't assume that you can use your appendices and your long list of references to cover up a part of the full proposal that you haven't been able to explain. Yeah, Peyton in the back. Just wait 1 second for the microphone.
Do the team bios count towards that 8-page limit?
They do. Good question. And so I will get into that a little bit, but yes. Oh, Yagmar, got another question.
How about the images?
Yes.
They count?
Yes. So if you do have images or graphs, they are included in that 8-page. Did I see another question up front, or yeah?
So this isn't actually about the pages, but for the award amount, if you ask for more money, are you less likely to get awarded?
No. And I'll actually go over that section, but just the short answer is no. So is there any quick questions about the things that I highlighted up here? Otherwise, we can kind of dip into the elements of the full proposal. Okay. Choo-choo-choo. So as you will see, we've got this beautiful, balanced mobile that has a lot of different things, and viability is kind of running through the whole thing. So really keep that in mind when you're going over the sections. Also notice that there are a couple new sections, and there are some headers that you saw for sections that you used in the pre-proposal round. So the first thing is, you'll notice in the full proposal examples that the teams actually put a 150-word summary right at the top. You will have to actually put in your 150-word summary into the application. You guys might remember that from the pre-proposal. You can update that if things have changed between pre-proposal and full proposal. But in addition, because judges are going to be reading about 7 to 8 proposals, and it's about like 70 to 80 pages, it is a good way to kind of align them and put them exactly where you want them to be just right away. This is who we are. This is what we're doing. Now you know what you're going to be reading. So I think it's a great technique for kind of focusing them, but it's not mandatory, and you will have to also put this into the web app location. So looking at the problem statement, now let me just make sure. There is this section you really filled out hopefully in the pre-proposal, but you only had 3 pages. So the good news is, if you wanted to expand on this, if you had extra notes on this, this is your opportunity to really show the audience that you know the problem and you want the audience to kind of fall in love with your interpretation of the problem. So this is highlighting some like ethical, cultural considerations, legal considerations depending on your project and your innovation. This is a great, great opportunity to show research. We definitely had some judges say, what you're talking about in terms of a problem statement sounds great, but I'm not sure this is true, and there's no citation or reference for me to validate this. So note that if you do have references, the judges will look at those, and it does help them understand that you have researched this and you've looked at it. If you've done any interviews, any surveys with your target population, this is a great place to kind of say, here's this problem that we're solving, and here's what we've done to kind of show that there is a need in the community. One of the proposals, I believe Social Good, they actually use a case study. So if there is any case studies that are already out there, feel free to use that to kind of highlight why you know your problem better than anyone else and how you're addressing it. Does that make sense? I'm seeing some nods. And, okay, I'm gonna move on to, oh, yes.
Regarding the citations, if we include links, would they be preserved in the PDF, or will they get printouts, or?
Sorry, can you repeat that again?
If we hyperlink the text from the citations, can they just click them, or do they have to go to the references, type in the URL? Like, can we make it easier for them to follow up on our references?
Yes, and I think you want to elaborate.
Yeah, you can do that. It will link from the PDF if they're reading from the PDF, but many judges will print out the proposals, take them on a flight, take them wherever they're going, read them, and then come back and review them later. So you should probably include the full citation, but also link, yeah, that's great.
And yeah, some judges print out their full proposals, others they read it online, and so you never really know, but yeah. So in terms of the existing solutions, in the pre-proposal, we were calling this the competitive landscape analysis. We're going back to simplicity, so existing solutions. Who is already in the field trying to address your problem? If any of you guys were, or ladies, or whoever, were at the pre-proposal writing workshop, we actually showed 2 examples, a 2x2 matrix, and we used Airbnb. So in this example, they have 2 variables, so price, affordable or expensive, and then how the transaction is done, either online or offline, to kind of show where their competitors and where they place themselves. And then there's just a little zoom in on that one. And then a competitive feature matrix is another way that you can show this. I think it's great if you have a lot of features that you want to highlight and you want to save room on text. And this one, you can see that the features are on the left-hand side. The competitors run horizontally across the top, and you have an opportunity to kind of show, you know, these are the gaps that we're filling in the market, and our competitors exist, but they're not doing it in the same way. And just to reiterate, it's okay to have competitors. They could be potential collaborators or partners in the future. So competitors are a good thing. Now, the proposed innovation part. In the pre-proposal, this was where you really were trying to shine and show how your idea was innovative. But in this section, you want to show how your proposed innovation is viable. So how likely it is to succeed in the real world. Within that, you can talk about potential challenges. So if the judge has given you some feedback, or if you've encountered something with your mentor, this is a great opportunity for you to talk about this. I've noticed some hesitation from applicants in the past that have said, oh, that sounds like I'm talking about my project being weak. I don't believe that is actually a thing. I think that we understand you're an early stage project, and if you're just letting us know that you're aware of the challenges, then the judges can cross that off of their list because they know, okay, they've got a firm grasp on what they're going to be up against.
Yeah, it's the biggest pitfall that teams run into in the final round is not addressing their challenges or their risks and having the judges call them out. If they can identify the gap before you, then they think they know your project as well or better than you do. So you have to be the expert, identify those risks, and come up with sort of the ways to get past them, move between them.
Well said. The next thing is prototypes. So I've gotten this question from a few teams. If you notice, this image is from the Picapen example from the pre-proposal. This was just a simple mock-up. You could have a wireframe. By no means do you have to have a fully functioning prototype, but being able to explain this either with a graphic or an image might be easier than trying to write it all down. So just keep that in mind. And yes, in the back, David.
So we were talking about prototypes, right? In the proposal, obviously, like showing with images is fine, but how about the video? Are we like allowed to show the prototypes during the video? Are we encouraged to do so?
Good question. I'm seeing Philip shaking his head.
No, you can, but we still want it to be direct to the camera, the 2 innovators, but if you have your prototype in your hand and you show it and demonstrate it there, that's okay. But it should be you, your team members, directly to the camera. We'll go over that in a minute. Good question, though.
Another question?
So if the prototype was digital, could we then display it in the same way? Or, because it seems disadvantageous to the people that have non-physical solutions if the prototypes can be shown in a video if they're hardware, per se.
So the pitch is your 60 seconds. We're going to have projects at all stages, and there's no scoring element on having a prototype already developed. It's really on what your roadmap, what your implementation plan will be over the next year in that viability component. So having a prototype doesn't mean you're viable, it just means you have a prototype.
Daryl.
90 seconds,
90
60 to 90, yep.
60 to 90 second video. Yes, theory of change. So this is one way that you can illustrate how you actually plan to go about your events. It's a great organization tool. Gantt charts, log frames. I'm using a bunch of technical jargon. We have a ton of resources that we can point you to. You might be familiar with some, you might not be, but this is another way for you to kind of organize yourself and make sure that the audience knows exactly which elements you're talking about in terms of goals, outcomes, and what you intend to achieve. Speaking of goals, this section would be the part to kind of talk about overall objectives and overall goals. The next section I'm going to get into is the implementation timeline, but this one is, let's say in 5, 10, 15 years, what is your proposed innovation? What would they ideally like to accomplish? This would be the section where you kind of highlight that and allude to any future development beyond the implementation plan, which is just a year. Okay. And then partners. So if you indicated that you had partners before, letting us know that you still have those partners is good. Also, if your mentor or if you've gotten any resources from outside feedback, please add those partners in there, because once again, that also adds to the viability of your project. If you can demonstrate that you're working with or have potential partners lined up, that speaks to the viability of what you're trying to do.
Or even going into potential partners and prospects and folks that you've had conversations with, showing them that you know that landscape, that universe of potential partners who you will continue to try and engage. That's as important, I would say.
Yes. Okay, so then moving on to the implementation timeline. The timeline is the next key steps for implementing your idea in the first year. So funding for the awards goes out this summer, I'd say about June 2019. So we have set this hypothetical timeline for your implementation plan to be from June 2019 to June 2020. Within this, you'll notice that there are ways that you can show this. I think that Social Good actually does, or Social Force does a good job of showing what their implementation plan is. However, Baje Kubo, which is another full proposal example, I think they overutilize different charts and different methodologies, and it became a little bit distracting when I read it. So feel free to have another person look at it, but also make sure that an outsider can read what you're writing and they aren't confused by what you're trying to achieve. Also note that you're not going to be beholden to these key activities. So you are deciding between now and the full proposal date what these key activities look like, but we do know that things can change and different events can come up, so the judges will not be knocking on your door in 6 months and saying, okay, well, where are you on that one key activity? I see a question in the back. Yes.
So about the potential grant, if we have an international team, can the funding be distributed between different parts, or does it have to remain in the United States?
So good question. The funding will go through the team lead. So that can be a variety of things. If you're established as an organization, depending on where you're established, the funding can go there. The funding can go to an individual. It can go to a group. So we can actually highlight later on the different options that you have for that, but it really depends. But we can't take essentially $5,000 and give $1,000 to each of your teammates, if that's what you're asking. We wouldn't do that. We could give it to one person and then you could do that. Peyton?
With the page limit being 8 pages, I foresee there being some real estate issues, so to speak. And this seems like one of the less important areas if you had to level all of these different sections in importance. Would it be do you think it would be feasible just to summarize this all up with a Gantt chart that's half a page, 3/4 of a page?
Great. I was actually going to say Gantt charts is a great way to save real estate. So if you guys aren't familiar with Gantt charts, the full proposal tips actually has a link to a few different examples. Yes. having, and also coming to us and letting us know, we're struggling on this section. I wouldn't say implementation plan is less important because it does speak to viability. So let's say you just didn't have an implementation plan, the judges would have no idea what you're going to be doing in the next year, and they'd just be going on assumptions that you've mentioned in previous sections. So I would still include it, but obviously that would be a great place if you're familiar with Gantt charts to put that in there.
Yeah, the key is to think through what are those key activities that you will need to take care of over the course of the first year. That's what you're trying to get across in the implementation timeline. So think through all those activities that you'll need to undertake in the first year, and whether it's a Gantt chart, whether it's bullets, you can do that pretty quickly. I think, half a page. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just quickly, are we limited to 1 year? Can we go over that, or is it just that strict time frame?
So in terms of the judging criteria, the implementation plan section is just going to be covered in a year, but in the proposed innovation, you're more than welcome to talk about things that are going to be happening more than a year out from now, or overall goals, especially if you have some kind of exciting developments. Like we have a grant, it's going to take off in a year and a half. The proposed innovation section, I think, would be a little bit more appropriate. But like I said, the format is not super strict, so flow is important.
But overall, what the final proposal is supposed to be is your roadmap, your implementation plan for that first year. So you really want to cover what it is you're going to do in that first year. That's what the judges are going to be paying attention to. But then at the back end of your proposed innovation section, if you want to describe that product vision and how you can scale and how you can build this, across different regions, across, different users, that's great.
Yeah. Okay, measuring success. So this section I'm going to be a little bit detailed over just because I want to make sure it's really crystal clear. So this is how you actually measure impact. That is also related to viability and a lot of other of the judging criteria. This does not mean that you have to have a formal monitoring and evaluation plan, also known as M&E. But we have provided a few resources in the full proposal writing tips for ways that you could either look at Acumen's Lean Data Guide, which kind of shows you have a quick and dirty way to look and measure different impact indicators. You'll also notice in terms of indicators, you want to look at who or what is changing. How might you quantify or look at success, and what does that mean for your project? So once again, we're not based on financial metrics. So how many people in your target population could potentially be served, and at what number do you define success? These are things that you really should be thinking of if you want to take this forward. And so I think this is a really important section. And you can see that in Social Force, they actually have some outcomes that they wanted, and then they defined the indicators within those outcomes, and then went that extra step of saying, and this is how we would achieve that. So then there's no doubt in the judge's mind of, okay, they have the indicators they want, they know about how to get them, and this is the desired outcome if they want. This doesn't mean, okay, now we're going to make sure that all of those outcomes were met, because if you have any familiarity with monitoring and evaluation, it doesn't always work out that way. But it's a really good way to guide you and also make sure you, your team, your beneficiaries, your stakeholders are all on the same page. It doesn't have to look exactly like this, but I found that Social Force's example was really helpful in just guiding me with the proposal and the objectives that they wanted, because they had a few. The other one is methodology. And so obviously methodology could be qualitative, quantitative, mixed methods research. What does that actually mean? It can be surveys, it can be charts, it can be formal, actual qualitative interviews that you've done with subjects. But whatever that is, just call it out in this section so that once again the judges know that you're not doing this just on a good feeling, that you actually have some methodology and indicators in place for how you want to measure your impact, therefore measuring success. Does that make sense? Okay, happy to take this offline and make sure that that makes sense to people. I've had people get nervous about this in the past, and it's really not anything that is too high level, so just run it by us if you're nervous about it. Now, the budget. In this case, I didn't print out the budget because it's all the fields on the Excel sheet, which is on the website under resources. So you've got the link up there, and you just scroll down to the budget template. There are formatted. So once you start putting in those numbers, it will actually give you the totals. This is a really, really great tool. I, in a previous life, loved making budgets, loved doing kind of personal finance stuff. So if this is an area of contention for you, come in, let's look at the template together. Just note that the budget is going to be based on the first year of the project, 2019 to 2020. And also note that the average Big Ideas award is usually $5,000. So projects in general shouldn't request more than $10,000 from Big Ideas. I know there was a question earlier about the requested amount is if it goes beyond $10,000. That is actually pre-populated in the budget template, and it's called the funding gap. So you can talk about other sources, other revenue streams that go beyond that $10,000, but just letting us know that you're not asking for way more than $10,000, and people can see, okay, they're well on their way, or they could use some more help in this area.
Yeah, just to clarify that, we recognize these are early stage ventures, but we also recognize that $10,000 isn't going to be enough to get most startups off the ground in the first year. So we expect that your budgets in many cases will exceed that $10,000 amount. So you can request up to $10,000 from Big Ideas, but say your project, that first year of implementation, you anticipate you're going to have $20,000 worth of expenditures. You then have to, in your revenue section, address how you would make up that $10,000 funding gap. Would it be through crowdfunding? Would it be through, are you looking at other grant opportunities or other competitions? These types of things you should be thinking through for the revenue section. It doesn't have to be money in hand at this stage because we know that you're just getting off the ground, but you should have identified where you can make up that additional funding gap, that revenue.
Thanks for that, Philip. Yes, well said.
Do you think we should include those in our timeline, saying this is the time we're going to raise, like we're going to do crowdfunding, this is when we're going to apply to this grant?
I would say definitely that's a good thing for the timeline. If you know you're going to have a fundraising campaign going on during a specific period, and you can identify what that period actually is, yeah, I would definitely put that in the timeline. Same thing with outreach. If you're going to be doing outreach during a certain period, that's great. It's not just about the project implementation and the technology development, but all those aspects that go into getting your project off in the first year should be in that timeline.
Yeah, and I actually skipped over a little bit of that. If you're doing recruitment, hiring, obtaining partners, changes in personnel, that is also great information to put in your timeline. And
we do have a question online.
Oh, great.
They're asking if they should make their, and this is from Uganda, so somebody up very late at night.
Oh, thanks for
Kampala
staying
from
up.
McCarry University, and they're asking if we should make the timeline by month or by quarter.
By month or by quarter? I believe that format is up to you as long as it's clear. So if you want to do a quarterly timeline, just make sure that you label that. Don't make assumptions that the judges know whether it's monthly or quarterly. I don't know, did you want to get into any more detail about that part?
That's exactly right.
Okay. And I'm going to move on unless anybody has any other budgeting questions. Maybe not now, but later, I'm sure.
Oh, one more question from the
yes.
same person. Should addressing how you will fill the funding gap be outside the budget template? So I can take that one. So yes, you can include those potential funding revenue opportunities in the budget, but if you think it's not clear, then you can have a narrative section above the budget section, a budget narrative above the budget itself. A paragraph or two is a budget narrative leading into the budget section to make it more comprehensible is a good idea.
And then we have another question. It's a hot topic.
Yeah, so with assuming a certain amount of money comes in from the Big Ideas to an individual, is that taxable under income tax, or if it goes to a corporation, should we account for taxes?
Really good questions. So the awards are given out, they're not given out as grants, so they don't have funding restrictions except for scaling up don't listen to this part. No, it's a different type of a award that's given out. There are different options. If it is given to an individual, there is possibility that it can be taxed as income. We also have information on how you can actually reclaim that tax. If it's staying on campus some way through a student group, that's an option for not being taxed. So there are options that will let you know once all the awards are given out about these are the ways that you can avoid your award being taxed, but there is also options that people have chosen where there might be an opportunity that they get
The
taxed.
disclaimer on that is we are not accountants. We cannot provide any tax advice going forward. So, but it really is up to your personal situation. But we do have a number of ways that you can receive your award, keep it here on campus, or take it as an individual. And there's tax implications, altering in either way.
Yes, but a very important disclaimer, we are not CPAs, we are not tax professionals, but we want to help you find the answers to these questions from individuals that would know better than us. And any other questions on, okay. So team bios, we touched on this before, they are included in the 8 pages. Just to reiterate, if any teams have had a team lead change, please let us know. I'm shouting this out online, in the room, echoing. The team lead is the main mode of how we communicate funding, all big opportunities, events, deadlines, and so let us know early. Also, if you have any issues with your team bio, you have new team members, you're wondering how to kind of put this in your full proposal, let us know. I can give you advice that I think is going to be similar to the pre-proposal, but please come with us, or come at us without any questions.
And we recognize that these teams, very early stage teams, they're going to be fluid, dynamic, whatever you want to call it. So there's going to be people coming in, there's going to be people perhaps leaving in the full proposal round. If it's not the team lead, just note that in your final proposal in the web form section in your bios. If it's the team lead, though, contact us ASAP.
Yes. And then just for scaling up applicants, you'll have an additional component to your full proposal, which is past progress. Essentially, this is carrying over what you did in the pre-proposal round, but highlighting any changes that have happened. I'm going to quickly just leave it at that, but if any of the scaling up participants online or in person have questions, please let us know and we can answer this aspect. But I wanted to quickly wrap up the writing portion of the full proposal and check clarification questions from you guys. Thanks for also asking questions along the way. It's good. Anything online? Okay, so Philip's going to take it away and talk about the newest element of the full proposal, the application video. Thanks a lot, guys.
Okay, so you guys have been asking great questions. Now I'm going to ask you for some feedback, some input on some of these questions I have for you. So this year we've added the application video. We're piloting this the first year. And the reason we're doing this is, number one, because this is an essential skill that every entrepreneur needs to have. If you're going down that entrepreneurial path, you're going to have to pitch your project to all different types of funders, partners, networks, your mothers, your fathers, everybody's going to want to know about your project, so you're going to have to learn how to pitch. So essential skill. Number two is, after 8 years, 9 years of running this competition, it's definitely been one of those identified weaknesses of teams coming out of big ideas. So we want to strengthen teams' ability to pitch. At our award celebration, at our grand prize pitch day, I'll go around the room, I'll talk to students, and even after working on their proposals for 8 months, often it's hard for them in 60 or 90 seconds to convey their idea very clearly and concisely. Number three is that the judges have always requested this. The judges are in this because they want to work with students. They get excited and energized by the student energy in big ideas. And so they want to get to know you a little bit better. They want to see maybe what comes across from you that doesn't come across on paper. And this is really your opportunity to convey your project through another format in a different way. And most judges will be reading or will be watching the video, will be watching your pitch before they actually enter your full proposal application. So this is really your opportunity to pique their interest, get them excited, so that when they get to your written proposal, they have more energy and they really want to learn more about your project. So the core criteria for the video pitch is that number one, it's 60 to 90 seconds, 90-second maximum. If it's over 90 seconds, we're going to make you do it again and resubmit it. And this is really an elevator pitch. So it should be encompassing a lot of different elements, a lot of elements that we've already gone through in your pre-proposal, but within 90 seconds, so it's got to be very clear and concise. And the way we have sort of piloted this project is the Y Combinator model. Y Combinator has been using this model for the past 10 years, and what we want from you is direct students to the camera as if the camera were a judge or a funder or somebody that you want to pitch as a partner, but direct to the camera, only student team members, and we want this to have actually no effects in terms of production quality, no cuts, no music, no sound other than your voices. It shouldn't be overly scripted, it should be very conversational, and we'll go through some examples in a second, but really we want to hear directly from you talking to the judges about your very cool, viable ideas.
Really quickly, we have some online questions. One, what is Y Combinator?
Okay, great
And
question.
two, if another team member is not in the same country, is it okay not to have them in the video?
Yep. So I'll take the first one first, which is you get to decide who pitches for your team. Sometimes it's great to have 3 people. It's easier to have 1. If you're going to have 3, you got to work on the transitions and know who's doing what, so it can be a little bit more complex. But it's really up to you who you want to feature in that video. The only requirement is that it's the student team members talking. It shouldn't be your mentor. It shouldn't be students from other campuses. It should be eligible students from the campus team members. And then what was the second question?
What is Y Combinator?
Y Combinator is a very prestigious accelerator program that many big ideas teams have gone on to participate in. They take you through skill development, they provide funding, they provide resources, and really help teams scale. So it's an accelerator.
Great.
Okay, go back. So the common pitch components that go into elevator pitches, and you can scour online, but this is sort of a digest of what you can find online, is number one, you want to introduce your team, you want to introduce your company. You want to convey sort of what the problem is and the core elements of the problem that you're trying to address. For instance, are you faster? Are you more cost effective? Are you more accessible, reliable, easy to maintain, in contrast to your competitive analysis in terms of the landscape that's already out there working in similar areas around your innovation? So that should be your proposed innovation, really. What are you going to do? What's your value proposition? How does it fit within the landscape of other innovations? And then the potential for social impact. We're not looking at sort of the financial success of your company. We want to maximize social impact. So really focus on the depth, the breadth of the problem, and how, if you are successful in combating that challenge, that problem, how large of a social impact can you actually make? And then last is your vision for sustainability. Leave those judges with sort of your broad vision, your grand vision going forward of how you're really going to scale this project and get it out there into the hands of more people to make that larger social impact. So those are the key common pitch components. But again, if you go online, you're going to find 1,001 resources about what goes into a great elevator pitch. This is just an example of some of those things. So now what I want to do is really quickly let you watch a couple different videos, and then we're going to workshop these, and you can tell me what you liked, what you didn't like. And these are Y Combinator videos from past years. These are examples on their website. And I also should say, if you go into the rules section and you look on the website under the rules criteria, you can link up to Y Combinator. You can see they have a sort of a tip sheet for everything you need to know for these videos. And they have probably 5 or 6 really great examples, okay? So let's just roll this one, and then I want some feedback on what you liked, what you didn't like.
Hey everybody, I'm Kumar. I'm a former Google and Apple engineer, now focused on my own startup called Flip. And Flip is a mobile platform that facilitates the fastest, guaranteed resale on specialty items. Starting out with limited edition sneakers. Why sneakers? Because it's a huge shadow economy. And I know this, I'm a sneakerhead. I've been one for quite a long time. Specifically age 9, just as long as I've been coding. And I wrote a couple of bots a few years ago that have now powered this 6-figure business that I helped co-found called Prestige, that's located in the Bay Area. What we're trying to facilitate with Flip is something that scratches at the human behavior and psychology of wanting to liquidate your assets extremely quickly. I know firsthand from this experience of trying to figure out how and when to sell my sneakers due to like pain associated from eBay and Craigslist and other social media like Instagram.
So that was about a minute. Feedback, what did you think? What was good about it, what was bad about it?
You guys can just shout it out and I can repeat it really quick.
Yep.
When he started off, I feel like he could have started off with the problem off the bat because he kind of told you the problem after he told you what the idea was.
Yeah, so didn't present the problem right up front. Great.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah, I liked the way he kind of interspersed his story and his background throughout rather than giving like a pitch on himself. He mentioned he was an Apple engineer, he mentioned his sneakerhead status, six-figure company he already founded.
Yep.
that's great. So he just inserted himself into the problem, said this is his background right away. So no judge or nothing left for guessing.
But I think making that connection is really important, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Go ahead.
This environment was really distracting. I spent probably 20 seconds trying to read what that symbol was on the wall backwards.
So pick your backdrops carefully. That's really important. Some of the videos I was watching today, trying to figure out examples for this, there were a couple who were pitching, well, you'll see next, in front of a mirror. And yeah, that backdrop, the scene is very important in terms of where you're going to be pitching. Go ahead. Anybody else? Okay, how about the content of the speech? Do you know what his innovation is? Do you know what the problem is? Do you know sort of where he fits into the landscape, all those things that we talked about?
Yeah, I don't feel 100% comfortable regurgitating what his idea was.
Okay.
Like it didn't settle well. It wasn't simple enough.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So he can simplify it. Sometimes less is more, and just getting some of those main points across in your pitch rather than trying to fit it all in. And that's a good segue for the next video, which I want to show you. Here we go. We'll roll this one. I think you'll have a little bit more feedback on this one, perhaps.
Hey, Y Combinator, lightning round number 3. Let's start with Jesus.
Thanks for the introduction, Pat. So I'm Jesus, head of 3D graphics at Inventive VR, and with 7 years experience in 3D software. With our product, I will be focusing on the pipeline between taking a patient's CT data and virtualizing that in a virtual reality environment. And with a little bit more details on that, here's Alex.
Thanks. So I'm Alex, CEO and CTO of Inventive VR, and so we're grabbing patient-specific MRI or CT data and placing it into a 3D interactive virtual environment to allow clinicians to diagnose any issues. So we're working with cardiologists at Hines VA Hospital, and they're doing research on the correlation between heart fat and heart failure, and so our technology visualizes this very succinctly. So with that, here's Pat.
Thanks, Alex. I'm a medical researcher and I work with the doctors that Alex mentioned, cardiologists. As CSO and COO, my job is to make sure that our product conforms to what they need. We're the best at what we do, and our product is a combination of our skill sets and passions.
It's true. We're the only one doing what we're doing on the market right now. So with that, we're looking forward to hearing back soon.
Feedback. Okay. We got some up here.
Speed.
Really
I had no idea what they were saying until 2/3 of the way in.
Okay.
Gosh, they gave themselves more than one title. And then CEO, CTO. Like, if you haven't even launched a company yet, do not call yourself CEO, CTO.
Yep.
Honestly.
That's smart. Yeah, I mean, the thing that stands out about that one, right, is just the speed. They were trying to cram in every last word into a 1 minute actually, video. Again, less is more. How about some of the language they used? That's what got me. Go ahead, David.
So, like, I'm a bioengineer, so some of the terms that I use are, like, familiar.
Yeah.
But if I did not know, like, the acronyms, I would have no idea what they were talking about.
Exactly.
Like, I think they're trying to virtualize, like, medical imaging, but if you don't know what PET and CT and, like, these kind of technologies are, it's really hard.
Simplify the language, be conversational, be clear. Don't use tons of acronyms that people won't get, even UC. A lot of the judges won't know what UC is. This is, this is a international competition as well as UC Berkeley. Go ahead.
So I thought the ending was kind of strange because they dropped
Kind of
out
creepy,
the
actually, yeah.
speech
But okay.
and went into like pitch format, which
Yep.
was a lot slower, and it just made it seem like they didn't know how to end the video.
And that's a skill. That's actually, when watching a lot of the videos today and over this past week, think about your conclusion, because how you wrap up, it can be very awkward if you don't know how to end up. Either you just get cut short or you have somewhat of an awkward ending there. But yeah, no sort of going into it. what you're going to be saying throughout, and that includes a conclusion. Anything else? Go ahead.
Well, I think that was something with the other one. The other conclusion was also really awkward, but just because he didn't really wrap up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he didn't wrap up as well. And then also what got me with some of this, and I'll lead you a little bit here, is some of the language the guy on the right used. We're the best at what we do. And, it was just jargon. It didn't mean anything. It was just kind of thrown out there and left. If you're going to say something, make sure you're saying it and you can back it up. Make sure it's not just jargon, it's not just words.
Yeah, and just to tag on to that really quick, even in the written proposal, your judges are gonna have a background in your category, but don't assume that they understand the technical language. I say write it to a 10-year-old audience, because if there's a way that you can explain something in simpler terms, you can just guarantee a larger amount of people are going to understand you. And if there's any doubt, that's going to frustrate a judge or somebody, and they might just move on instead of looking into what you're trying to explain.
And Danny knows this because she was on a Y Combinator team and had to prepare a pitch video along with her co-founders.
I wasn't in it, but thank God.
Okay, so let's go over just some tips for developing these compelling videos. Number one is start strong. You only have one chance to make that first impression. You really want to capture the judges or reviewers right at the outset. You want to, 80% of this is making them want more, right? You want to keep them interested, keep them thinking about what's coming next. So a lot of that can be around, starting with a personal anecdote, connecting the problem in some really creative way. But just make sure that whatever you have up at the front, whether it be a hook or just a compelling story, put that at the front and center of your pitch video, because you want to bring them in the door. Number two, I call these the 3 C's. Connection, commitment, and chemistry. This is really your opportunity, much more than your written proposal, to convey your connection to the issue, your commitment to the issue, your hustle, and also, if you're going to be doing this with your founders, with your team members, to convey that team chemistry. One of the things I liked, it wasn't one of these videos that we're watching, is just the dynamic between teams and sort of good banter, introducing each other versus introducing yourself. Those are things that can work to really show the chemistry, because not just judges, but VCs are investing in the team as much as the idea often. So make sure you're communicating that team atmosphere. Number 3 is know your audience. Who's your audience for this video? Well, the real audience, though. It's the judges, right? And what do the judges want to see? Why are the judges doing this? Why are they participating in big ideas? They're participating because they love student energy, they love being around cool new ideas, cutting edge ideas, and they love giving back. These are the key motivations for judges. So bring that energy across, bring sort of the creativity of your ideas across. Make sure the judges pick up on that, because if they can pick up on that, that's why they're part of Big Ideas. They'll like your idea even more.
And yeah, really quickly, we've explained it in the first semester. Big Ideas is a pipeline program. So there are other groups, other funding opportunities. This is a great way to be like, hey, look at their elevator pitch. This is what they're trying to achieve. Do you want to make a meeting? Do you want to get in touch with them? We'll try and do matchmaking, but this is another way for you to kind of get out into the real world to find different opportunities.
Yep. Exactly. And then be yourself, be authentic, be genuine. Don't make really outlandish claims that can't be supported. Again, have integrity. Also know your style and know the style of your project and how to convey that best. If you are pitching a medical device, that's going to be very different than if you're pitching something in art and social change, like a dramatic performance. So, one can be a little lighter and funnier, one needs to be more serious and grave. So know the style, and also know your own style. If you are, off the cuff and you like to wing it and you like to have fun, be yourself. If you're more earnest and sincere and, you want to show more integrity, if that's your personal style, be that way. Third is, and this is where I think that second video fell short, keep it simple. Less is more. Don't overload the content. Don't provide information overload to the reviewers. Stick to your main points, prioritize your main points, and stick to those 3 or those 2 key points that you want to get across. Don't try and fit in all 10 key points. And really concentrate on what matters out of your proposal and leave them wanting more. That's the other thing, is leave them wanting more. You don't have to fill every void, but just give them enough, tease them, get them interested, get them to sense your passion and your commitment and your energy. And then last but not least, practice, but don't rehearse. So don't script this. Don't regurgitate something that you've written down. You know, have your bullet points, talk to those bullet points, but don't overly rehearse, because when you watch videos that are rehearsed, that are scripted, it just comes off as, what's the word I'm looking for? Not personal,
Well,
a little less sincere,
yeah, less
a little cold,
sincere,
yeah, cold.
And
So-
also, I'm learning this as well. This is my first year at Big Ideas. I notice that when I'm going back and forth and looking at my notes and trying to read exactly, it just doesn't feel good. And you guys can echo that sentiment of when I'm a little bit more loose and kind of talking to you and interacting with you, it just feels a little bit more comfortable.
Yep. And then the other things in terms of practice but don't rehearse, test your sound, because that's a problem that a lot of these videos have, is you're too far away from your iPhone and the audio stinks. So test the sound, check your backdrops. We talked about that already. Make sure if you're going between team members that you've worked out those transitions and how you're going to work those handoffs. And then my last note here was the ending. Make sure you have a really good wrap up to your overall pitch video, your elevator pitch. And then last but not least, pitch to your friends, to your family, to your pets. They love to hear you. They love your voice. So pitch to everybody who you can, and just practice that. But again, it can be different to different audiences. You can figure out what works best. It's like doing a comedy show, right? You're trying to figure out which joke works, but here you're trying to figure out which content works. So make sure you have a little fun with it, but pitch it to everybody you can. And then last but not least is, we have advising sessions. We can walk through sort of your outline of your elevator pitch with you. You can pitch to us beforehand to make sure it comes across. We're here to help, and I'd be more than happy to sit down with you and listen to you talk about your project. So by all means, come see us in advising hours. With that, last thing you need to know is how to apply. So over the next week or 2 weeks, we're putting together the final platform. We'll send you a link to the platform. None of you should be wanting to upload your final proposal just yet anyways. So you'll have the platform link within the next week or 2 weeks, well before the deadline. And you will upload both the PDF and a link to your application video. You should, when you record the video, upload it to YouTube, click to allow embedding, because then we can insert it into the monitor, the viewing panel that the judges will see. Those are just some tips for that, but everything is due by March 6th. And with that, any questions? Any questions online?
No, it looks like we're good.
Okay.
Thanks so much, you guys. Email us. Let us know if you need anything. We love to hear from you. There's no such thing as stupid questions. Okay.